Okay, today we're going to be doing 4.8 dividing fractions. This is going to be part 1. I just wanted to show you my puppy, but he's a lot bigger now, but this is Drax the Destroyer. All right, I'm going to explain how to divide fractions. So to divide by a fraction, you have to multiply by reciprocal. You did this last year in 6th grade. So remember, the reciprocal is the flip of the fraction. That means you put the top number on the bottom and the bottom number on the top. So let's go ahead and I'll show you each of the reciprocals. So the reciprocal of 1/3 is 3 over 1, or that is just 3, okay? The reciprocal of 1/5 is 5 over 1, or it's just 5. And the reciprocal of 7 is 1 over 7. If the example was 2/3, it would be, I'm going to put an R for reciprocal, is 3/2. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at this fraction, or this dividing fractions expression. So I have 3 divided by 1/4. First, I'm going to show you what it looks like as a model. So I see that I have 3 holes, okay, and I have to divide them into fourths. So I'm going to divide each one into fourths. Usually how I do it is kind of divide it in half and then divide it in half again, right? All right. So if I have 3 divided by 4, well, how many fourths are there in 3? Well, here's 4, and a 4, and a 4. So really, it is 12. Okay? So now I'm going to show you what it looks like mathematically. So if I have 3 divided by 1/4, to do this, we have to divide fractions, we multiply by the reciprocal. So we did this last year, where you change the division into multiplication and you find the reciprocal, okay? So this 3 would stay the same, but the 1/4 would change to, you'd basically flip these two, okay? So the 4 will go on the top and the 1 will go on the bottom. Now you multiply 3 times 4 over 1, which is just 12, and that's your final answer. You could put 12 over 1, but the best answer would be 12. Okay, let's go ahead and practice. So the only difference between last year and this year is that you have negatives, right? So remember, just like you're multiplying by negatives and when you're dividing by negatives, right? So if I am dividing a negative by a negative, my answer will be positive, okay? All right, so that means that my answer is going to be positive. I'm going to put a plus sign just to make sure. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing. So change my division sign to multiplication, and I'm going to flip, okay, for the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of -5 would be -1/5, because this is like 5 over 1. So I put the 1 on the top and the 5 on the bottom. All right, the 1/3 will stay the same. Or I guess it's -1/3. And then you just multiply just like normal, okay? So a negative times a negative, so same thing. So a negative times a negative is a positive also, okay? All right, so multiply the top. So I have a -1 times a -1 over 3 times 5. So negative times negative is a positive, and 3 times 5 is 15. So my final answer is 1/15. Let's go on to the next problem. Okay, here's my next problem. It's 3/4 divided by a -1/2. Now, if I have a positive divided by a negative, I will get a negative, right? Or same thing, a positive times a negative is a negative, right? Okay, so this will become, so my answer is going to be negative. I'm just going to write it down. So 3/4, the division sign is going to become multiplication, and I'm going to flip or find the reciprocal of -1/2. So that's -2 over 1, okay? I am not changing the positive to a negative or a negative to positive. All I'm doing is putting the 2 on the top and the 1 on the bottom. Okay. So now I just need to multiply straight across. So I have 3 times a negative 2. And then I have 4 times 1. So 4 times 1. And 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. And then 4 times 1 is 4. And I can simplify that because I see that they're both even. Or I can see a factor of 2, right? So 2 times 3, right? We could say, and then 2 times 2. So that means I can divide the top and the bottom by 2. So then I would get negative 3 over 2, and that equals negative 1 1/2. That would be my final answer. All right, that's the end of dividing fractions. Remember to divide, when you're dividing fractions, all you're doing is instead of dividing, you're actually multiplying by the reciprocal. So you change that division sign to a multiplication, and then you flip the second number or the second fraction. Have a great day.